Go.
Welcome to 2 Samuel 003. David has been a bad boy, and his kids doing murder and incest, not much better. We start off with chapter 14. Joab sent to Tekoa for a wise woman, a player, to go tell David everything Joab tells her. She tells David she wants him to do stuff that takes up all of chapter 14. Everything is just too detailed. Is Joab behind what you're saying? Apparently David knew she was talking about Absalom, and David sent Joab to go get Absalom. Absalom came back, but would not go to see David. The Bible called Absalom Mr. Handsome. Absalom had 3 sons and a daughter, which he named Tamar, after his sister. Absalom sent for Joab, but Joab wouldn't come because Absalom wouldn't go see David himself. There's a book and a movie out about this era called Our Man in Damascus. Absalom got so upset with Joab's descent that he had Joab's field set on fire. When Joab went to Absalom to find out why he set the field on fire, Absalom said it was because Joab wanted to know why David wanted Absalom at the palace. He thought it was so David could kill him for killing Amnon. Absalom went to go see David and found David wanted to see him because he missed him. Chapter 15, Absalom now decides that since he is at the palace, he was going to try to explain to the people outside the palace that David doesn't have enough time to take care of the people's issues, and tries to get them to go to Absalom instead. Absalom then told David he wanted to go to Hebron to worship the Lord. He actually wanted to set up his court there. David said it was cool, unaware of what Absalom had been doing. Absalom sent spies to announce his coming, kind of like the advertising. He then sent for Ahithophel to help out. A messenger finally came to David to inform him of the coup. This is some crazy stuff, man. At verse 31, David found out about Ahithophel helping Absalom, and he called it foolishness. He ran into Hushai and sent him to mess with Ahithophel. Hushai met Absalom in Jerusalem. Chapter 16, David met up with Ziba, who appears to have gone shopping. When David asked Ziba what was going on, Ziba gave a full account, so David asks where Mephibosheth is. Remember, Ziba was summoned by David to take care of him. David then said everything that was Mephi's now belongs to Ziba. David then met up with Shimei. Shimei came out to meet David by cursing at him, spitting on him, and throwing rocks, and everyone with him. Shimei didn't like David because he was known as a man of bloodshed. Shimei thought David was coming after Absalom because of Absalom taking over David's authority. Abishai told David he didn't care for this man's behavior and he would take joy in smiting him. David told Abishai and his men that the guy was acting like a dog and should be ignored. Shimei ran up into the hills and followed David through town, cursing and throwing stones. David then prayed to God about Ahithophel's advice to Absalom being made really stupid, so that Absalom would not succeed in taking over the kingship. Not knowing this, Abishai asked Ahithophel for advice on how to proceed in his kingship, and Ahithophel to him to take one of David's concubines. He said to him, take one of David's concubines to the roof where it was cool and sleep with her. Sure, then all the people will know that David hates you and you can take over. In chapter 17, Hithi then told him to get 12,000 men and take David out. Abi actually liked this idea. He requested Hushai to come and back up this idea. Hushai gave him completely different advice. You see, David knew to stay separate from his men so he could think of how to win a battle, like they do in the military leaders today. Stand back and coordinate. Appears that Hithi's advice would have gotten Abi's butt kicked. At verse 17, things were discovered, and David was about to find out the plan. When Hithi found out Abi didn't follow his advice, let's just say things didn't go so well for him. In chapter 18, some people might call this unusual or perhaps even cruel. Back then, the Cadillac of the times was a donkey, and Abi was riding his donkey and got his hair caught in a tree. You have to remember, this dude was proud of his hair. At any rate, Joab's men saw him in the tree and went and told Joab about it. Joab said they should have killed him right there. But the men said, not the king's son. Joab took 3 spears and went and put Abi out of his misery. Ahimaaz wanted to tell David that Abi was now dead. But Joab said, not today, because it was too soon. The next day, Joab sent another man, and Ahimaaz found out about it and pleaded with Joab to let him go. Okay, go, said Joab, and he started running. Joab beat the other guy there, and you should read what happened. Start at verse 24. By chapter 19, everyone was bawling, including Joab's army. Joab went straight to David's house, and told him David was embarrassing himself because Abi was out to kill him, and his spears were wasted. His tears were wasted. By verse 5, he was letting David have it. David spent the rest of chapter 19 going back to Israel and listening to a bunch of nonsense from the others. Take a minute to read the last of chapter 19. It's about Barzillai. This is funny, yet entertaining. In chapter 20, a troublemaker named Sheba, who shouted, "Any friend of David's is no friend of mine." Now, if you really want stupid, the Israelites opted to follow Sheba, while the men of Judah followed and stayed with David all the way to Israel. For safety's sake, David placed his concubines under house arrest till they died. Seems serious. Appears David is afraid of Bichri, for he sent Abishai to chase him down. Joab stabbed and killed a man named Amasa. The Bible gives no explanation why, so I have to leave it that here. Joab met this wise woman in Abel Beth Maacah. She was mad that Joab was in the city, and she asked Joab why he was there. Joab told her he was looking for Sheba, and she told him Sheba's head would be thrown over the wall to them that night, but to leave town. Her name is not in the Bible. So there you go. Chapter 21 starts anew with there being a 3-year famine on David. Man, where is Joseph when you need him? Those following me will laugh about now. David asked God what was going on, and God said it was because of the bad of Saul. The Gibeonites answered, "Give us 7 of Saul's family, and let us kill them." And David said, "Okay." What? David ain't looking so good to me. He found them. They killed them. He spared Mephi, but not his sons. Rizpah put sackcloth on the bodies. David then took the bones and buried them in the tomb of Saul's father, Kish. Looks like David wasn't quite done with Goliath's brothers. Yes, there were giants in the Bible. These guys were cursed. 6 digits on each limb. Chapter 22 and part of 23, David sings a song to God. The last half of 23 is the roll call of David's warriors. I won't put you through that. Chapter 24, God is quite mad at Israel and calls for David to pull a census. David then admits to God that he has been acting foolishly, and God told him he had 3 options. Either 3 years of famine, 3 months of running from your enemies, or 3 days of plague. I sense some commonality here. David said he would rather fall into God's hands than to fall into human hands. God put a plague on David's people. It killed 70,000 men. David then buys a threshing floor to build an altar to God on from Araunah. Araunah tries to give it to him, but David says he would rather pay. Here is a lesson. David doesn't want to give anything to God that comes to him for free, because it doesn't cost him anything. What is the value in it? In essence, when you give something to God, think the same. If it was given to you, spruce it up. Put a value on it, because God doesn't give you blessings that didn't cost someone. Example, I get an emergency food from a food bank for my retirement. On one of these trips, I got a pack of ribs that the sticker value was $80. God gave this to me. No doubt someone gave it to God. We will continue on David in 2 Samuel 4. This guy is a goof.